Hello, everyone. This is your host, Carlos Cabrera, here for Fintech today. My guest today is a very interesting one. His name is Daniel Escalante. He works as an integration engineer at an international market center. And today he's going to detail his journey through a very tough condition, which is called relapsing polychondritis, and he's going to tell us a lot about his positive mindset, how he's managed to survive all these different phases that he went through. Welcome, Daniel. It's an honor to have you here with us today.
Thank you so much, Carlos. Very happy to be with you.
So tell us, what was your life before this condition appeared?
Well, my life was great. I had a wonderful girlfriend. I was in school. I was in college at the time. This is about 12 years ago. And I was studying, I was working, saving money, and just really putting my full effort into life, trying to get ahead and trying to do the best that I could. But I was constantly stressed, and I was always putting too much on my plate. And why that is maybe another discussion. But I think there was some anxiety just about making it in life. As a young guy, and trying to have a good life, build a good life, and a good future. And so I actually one of the things that I did then was I was a model, so I'd travel as well. So I had all these different balls in the air, and life was pretty great.
Oh, that's. And then what happens once this condition shows up? What was your mindset? Did you go through different phases? Like, that a lot of times when we have health issues, we go through a lot of times an anger phase. Did you go through that, or did you just jump in it and not even look back?
Well, I went through a mourning phase, kind of just grieving the life that I thought I would never have again. And one of the things, the emotionally difficult circumstances that I think triggered and preceded my condition was I went through a breakup with my girlfriend at the time, and that was really difficult on me. In addition to all the work stress and the other things that I had piled up in my life, it was just the straw that broke the camel's back. At least that's the way that I felt. I woke up one morning going from being a fairly normal person with fatigue. I was always kind of tired, but to being in terrible pain. And from that point forward, it was just trying to figure out what is wrong with me. The condition that I was eventually diagnosed with is an extremely rare one. And when I finally did receive my diagnosis from a specialist in Boston, I was flying back, and I felt, having confirmed what my condition was, like it was a death sentence, because the prognosis was that I would continue to deteriorate. It's something that was permanent. And so I just felt like I was kind of walking into down death row. Like, the prognosis was between 5 and 20 years survival, and that symptoms would progress, and it's just about managing symptoms and trying to live the best you can. And I was very, very hard.
And in terms of usually when these conditions show up, so that our audience can understand way more, did you have to quit your job, or did you basically, because some people have to do a deep dive into like, say, seeing all these random doctors that according to your blog, which is, we'll talk about that later, you went through, you want to see different specialists. So did you keep your job, or was it tough for you in terms of managing your job and your condition?
I quit my job. I wasn't able to work. I tried to work as much as I could, but after several months, I had to quit. And I moved in with my parents. Thank God that I had that support. And I didn't work for about 7 years after that.
Okay. And in terms of the changes that you came up with to keep you to overcome this condition, can you take us through that journey from the first changes, how you came out of say, that morning phase that you were talking about to now the positive guy that we saw in HBO, and the guy that has his job, you know, uh, productive life in general?
Yeah. So I had to hit rock bottom, and I had to try all of so the traditional medical prognosis with autoimmune diseases in general, but with this one as well, is that your immune system is essentially overactive, and that it is in a heightened state of alert, and as a result, your body's attacking itself. And so the polychondritis, for those who aren't familiar with it, it is rare. It's an arthritic autoimmune disorder similar to rheumatoid arthritis. There's lots of autoimmune disorders, but what they all have in common is the body is attacking itself. And so I went through a lot of traditional medications, treatments, and none of them were working for me. They were making me worse. And eventually, once I tried all of these different things, I've been studying up on a holistic approach, a approach that uses food, nutrition, stress relief, other therapies to try to rebuild the immune system. Instead of trying to lessen it with medications, I focused on trying to begin building it up. And the reason I decided to go all in on that was I just didn't want to accept life having to manage a condition all my life. Like, that just seemed so depressing. So I thought, well, maybe if I'm able to improve my health, improve my immune system to a certain point, the inflammation will subside and I'll get my life back. And I bought all in on that approach and that philosophy, and changed my life drastically to try to do that.
Right, and I know that you mentioned one of the things that caught my eye into your blog is that you, for instance, say that you gave up, milk-derived products, and you also, what kind of, can you tell us what kind of juicing? I know that you're big on juicing. You've been doing all of that. I think it's great that you educated yourself into that.
And it was a long journey of trying to figure out things that worked for me, because everyone's body is different. But I found myself trying things that would help and others that wouldn't. And I spent lots of money, probably about maybe $50,000 over the course of several years, testing different things, trying different things. And what I came up with that worked for me was a big one was, like you said, cutting out gluten, cutting out dairy, cutting out sugar, caffeine, lots of things that stimulate and that cause inflammation on your body that a healthy body can normally manage, but mine was ultra sensitive. And so I cut those things out and began to replace them with healthier alternatives. So instead of milk, I would drink almond milk, and instead of sugar, I'd use honey. And instead of gluten, I'd use gluten-free bread or millet or quinoa or a different type of grain. And so diet was a big thing. I changed that completely. And then another thing that I just enjoy doing is vegetable juicing. I got a juicer years ago, and I mix it up, tried all types of different juices. And it's just a great way to cleanse your body and to give it the nutrition, the enzymes that it needs to, get rid of chemicals, unburden your body with all kinds of things that cause inflammation. So those are two of the big things. One other, it was like the last piece of the puzzle that caused me to begin to rapidly improve, was taking vitamins based on my blood work. Because you read health blogs or literature, they say, oh, this is good for you. B12 is good for you. Vitamin C is good for you. Niacin, all these things. And it's overwhelming. It's like, well, what do I take? How much do I take? When do I take it? And so I started getting my blood drawn every 3 to 4 months. And instead of analyzing a normal reference range, like they typically do, you go to a doctor's office and they'll just say, if you're within 95% of the people, then your blood work's normal. Well, it doesn't mean it's optimal. And what I found is I had a lot of blood values that were within a reference range, but they weren't optimal. And so there's this software called Science-Based Nutrition, and I do it to this day, that tries to evaluate the optimal values for your body based upon your age, gender, other factors. And so when I began doing that, it would prescribe vitamin supplementation based upon what would help to optimize my blood values. And that's where I really started to get somewhere. So it was a combination of multiple things, including that.
And usually, so that people, our audience, can hopefully get the same benefits that you received. The science-based analysis, this test that you constantly take, is that something that you take at a doctor's office? Is that a machine that you purchase somewhere? How do they go about attempting to get this?
Great question. So on their website, I think it's sciencebasednutrition.com, but I'd have to look to be sure. They actually, there's a link to it in my blog. There's a number of physicians that use that product. There may be other products on the market that are similar to this technology, but I would get a referral from a physician that uses science-based nutrition, and I would get the blood work done, and then they would plug it in and then give me a list of vitamins to take.
Okay. Wow. That's awesome, because basically you're getting the benefits of exactly what you need.
Exactly. And that I found that like you could do a normal panel, like if you go for your physical and you get the normal blood panel that they would take, that works. Also, if you have other values you want to test for it, you can plug in a wide range of values, and sometimes if I'd have a more comprehensive blood work done, I'd detect other things that were off, and so it was really helpful for me. And plus, one of the discouraging things about autoimmune disease is it's not like a linear. For me, it didn't work out, unfortunately, where this week I'm better than last week, and in a month from now I'm better than I was last month. It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and sometimes vice versa. For me, it was a long, gradual journey. And so it really helped to monitor my improvement, have some kind of metric. And for me, that was blood values, to look and say, wow, my platelet counts are 15% higher than they were 3 months ago. We're getting somewhere, right, and so on.
And in terms of, apart from that, when it came to eating, did you follow the normal regular patterns of, like, say, that a few years ago, there's a lot of talk about fasting, all these new things that a lot of people have tried, including me. So did you ever try that as one of the tools that you use to feel better and be healthy?
I did try fasting, and I would feel worse when I did that. I don't know if that was because of the fact that my body was weak and it was too much of a burden on my body. I'm not exactly sure. I did try fasting though. I do like 3 or 4 days. I did that a few times, and I just didn't find it to be something that was all that helpful. But I did read literature on it about how some people would fast for a long period of time, a week, longer, up to 20 days, and that they were able to reverse certain conditions that they had. As the body breaks down, it's also expelling anything that's not healthy. It's rebuilding its tissue, and so for me, it didn't work too well. But I wondered if I'd continued longer, how that would play out. But intermittent fasting is another one that I did try for a while, where I'd skip breakfast, I'd eat early, and then give my body until lunch to be able to. And I just found for myself that I operate better when I have fuel. So if I start eating early, and then I'd have my last meal around 7 or 8, that's what gave me the most energy.
I see. And did you include any sort of meditation or any sort of light exercise, or was that something that you added progressively as you changed your nutrition?
I added that progressively, and as I improved. It took me maybe 3 or 4 years to get to a point where I could even go for a couple mile walk. And so when I was able to do that, I started doing that, and I do it. I try to do it daily. And there's days where I could do it, others where I didn't make it the whole way. But I found that light, moderate exercise that didn't tax my body to the extent I felt depleted became helpful. And for me, like, mindset, I think, is a huge factor. And I'm somebody who always struggles with being negative. and thinking about the worst possible scenario. So when I got my diagnosis, I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna die, or oh man, my life is gonna be miserable from here on out. So for me, I constantly had to correct that thinking and try to envision the best case scenario and try to claim that for myself. And it's a real struggle, even to this day. Not with health, because thank God I've come a long way in that journey, but with other things, it's very hard for me to be positive. And I think faith plays a big role. Whenever I'd go on my walks, I'd do a prayer walk, and I just take the time to communicate with God, talk to God, give him my fears, and ask for peace, ask for hope, and those things. But it certainly doesn't come naturally for me.
I see. So in terms of part of creating that mindset, positive mindset, is helping you would be, you would say, your faith.
100%. That was, for me, the biggest thing was that there was a point, Carlos, where several years in, it just felt I just had despair, where every single day I woke up and I wanted to die. I thought about it, about, just every day. It was a constant, because the pain levels were so high at the time. I couldn't sleep. I had insomnia. I'd be in pain continually. And my condition was rare, because relapsing normally means there's breaks where the inflammation will come on, you'll have a bout of inflammation, and then it subsides and it comes back. And so for me, it was just continual chronic inflammation. And so I struggled with depression for years. And during that time, the question that would come to mind is, why should I continue? Why is it worth continuing to live like this? And
what answer did you give yourself to get yourself out of there, if I may ask?
Sure. So being a person of faith, I had people in my life who were there for me. One of them was my godfather. And one time, I prayed with him. I said I wanted to be more like Christ. And during one of those times where I was thinking about giving up, he reminded me that Jesus was crucified on the cross, and he said, "You're more like him. You're becoming more like him. Like, there's suffering in life, and the point is that trusting God that he can do something with it, that there's a purpose behind it, even when we don't see the purpose. That's the tough part." And I was like, I don't understand what's happening, but you know what? I have a choice of whether I'm going to believe or not. Whether do I believe there's a future for me, or do I believe that even though I don't see how, that there could be a life for me where I am fulfilled, I hesitate to say happy, but accomplishing something tangible other than just hurting and suffering. And so that was the journey every day.
Wow, that's I wonder, now that you talk about your faith, a lot of us, I know that, for instance, I use my faith. I'm a man of faith too, but also I have progressively included meditation in terms of, did you ever try that, or was that something that you just basically, you focus on your faith and that's it?
I didn't try meditation per se, and I don't know too much about it. I have seen a couple documentaries, but those were more after I really improved and pain wasn't an issue for me as much anymore.
Oh, okay.
But one thing that I did was acupuncture, and that does have a very calming effect. And it feels like, have you ever done that before? Tried acupuncture?
No, not really. I've been kind of afraid of it because of the
needles.
The needles.
Yeah, no, I was too at first. It feels like you just got a full body massage.
Oh, okay.
Relaxed, and when you do acupuncture, usually you fall asleep, and it's 20 minutes, a half hour. And so I wonder if that's similar to maybe the effects of meditation. And I do that about once a month, once every 2 months. But I've read a lot of things about meditation, but it wasn't something I was doing at that time.
Yeah, I see. And is there like anything else apart from what you have told us that has helped you? Like, now that you're back into you have your job and you're say working full time into your new position, how do you do you manage stress differently, like say before that this condition appeared?
Yeah, that's a great question. Sometimes I would feel that I was handling a situation by stressing about it. Like if I realized the full weight of this and carried it on my shoulders, that somehow that would help the situation.
Hmm.
And what I learned was that stress, I believe emotional stress was a big reason why I got sick in the first place. And I'm not saying it's the only one. I think that fatigue and other issues, unhealthy diet, I feel like there was a lot of factors. But stress quite literally is a life and death decision, and it starts in the mind. And so I'm not saying you can always choose to not be stressed about something, but you can choose to think positively about something. And so now when I become stressed, I realize that if I let that play out and I just let myself be stressed and don't, treat it the way that I should mentally, that it could quite literally impact me physically. And stress causes your cortisol levels to go up. It causes your adrenal glands to become more, to wear out, and that has an effect on your endocrine system. And so it's really important to handle stress in a healthy way, because there always is stress, but there's also positive stress, and that there's a good stress as well. And it's important to have some things in life. And this is one other thing, and if I'm going on a rant here, at one point I was doing everything I could to get better. It's at one point, right? But my doctor told me, he said, even though I was in pain and I wasn't enjoying life, he goes, you have to have something to enjoy. You have to have something to live for, something that gives you positive stress, that excites you. And so that's one thing I'd say is, for people that are just burdened with chores, with tasks, with things that they have to get done, you need a positive outlet in life. You need some positive stress in your life.
I see. And what's your message, and what are your future plans now that you have put all of this together? Anything that you would like to share with the audience?
Sure. Yeah. So my message is that there's always hope. Don't give up, no matter what. Do not give up. Whether you're doing everything the right way, you have the right mindset, that doesn't matter. Just choose not to give up and let that play out. I would say, just have faith. Have faith that the best is yet to come. That the things that you want and that you desire in life, that those come from somewhere, that they're given to you, and that they're good. And we should all want good things for ourselves. So don't despair. Don't give up. And it's a lot easier to maintain health than it is to lose it and get it back. So work on taking care of yourself, putting yourself first. Take care of yourself. So some of the projects that I'm working on, one is, I created a blog to share my story, what I went through, and how other people might benefit from some of the things health-wise that I implemented. And so I want to get that message out to more people. And I'm also a software engineer. And so I have been in the industry for about 5 years, and there was a time where I didn't think I would be able to work again. So it's just a miracle, really, an answer to prayer. And so I'm continuing enjoying doing what I love and helping people along the way.
Great. Well, ladies and gentlemen, check him out. Check out Daniel's blog. I found it very useful for myself, and I think his journey is worth reviewing in writing as well. And thank you so much, Daniel, for your time. We wish you all the success, and I know that I'll see you soon down in Florida, or whatever life takes us.
Thank you so much for the conversation, Carlos. It's autoimmunerecovery.net is my blog, and we're undergoing some feature enhancements, so it'll be up in a few days for you to view, and really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you again.
Thanks so much for your time.
All right, take it easy, Carlos.